Thank you for tuning in to the only station giving you double the information and inspiration. WDRB Media and WGIV, the soul of Charlotte. This is Marriage Matters, and I'm your host, the Marriage Coach. Make sure you tune in every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. for tips and advice on all matters of marriage. Be sure to like us on Facebook by searching for Marriage Matters so that you can stay abreast of topics, ask questions, or comments during our interactive segment of Marriage Matters. Also, be sure to check out our website at www.ittakes2marriagecoaching.com for more information on our services. Our show sponsor for today's show is S. Hyatt Photography, serving the Lexington, Kentucky, and surrounding areas. Contact Sid Gentry by going to her website at www.shayatphotography.com. Also, find her on Facebook by searching for Photography by S. Hyatt or call 859-552-3261. So today we have the special couple that we had with us last week agreed to come back in today, and I'm so grateful for that because we were having some really, really good conversations last week about marriage. And I think when we actually left off last week, we were talking about y'all was kind of providing some counseling to me. Y'all was giving me some strategies on helping me to kind of figure out something simple, I think, in the grand scheme of everything. But I think we all know as married folks that simple can turn into, a hill that can turn into a mountain that can turn into a divorce by the end, and everybody be angry and hating each other over it. But we were just kind of processing, when you got two couples that are both working, or not two couples, and you got one couple and both people are working, and you've got children involved, how do we decide who does what, and who plays what role, and who tends to this child and who tends to that one, and who's responsible for dinner. And so I think the moral of it boils down to communicating. I know, Calvin, you spoke, to me ensuring that I'm telling Maurice what my needs are. And Deborah, you spoke, to making sure that we're also distributing, the wealth and the responsibility to everybody in the family, because it takes a whole family unit to make the family work.
That's right.
It's not just mommy and daddy. Kids can be responsible for certain things. And so I appreciate you all sharing that knowledge with me, because, with my 14-year-old, I'm going to be making sure that I have her in the kitchen more often with me so she could start up a meal and allow me to go do something else for 10 or 15 minutes before I've got to jump in the kitchen with her. So I'm thankful for that information that you all shared. So let me just dive right back in where we kind of left off. And one of the things, speaking of communication, so let's kind of talk about that for a moment, because we know that communication is the foundation of all relationships, not just marriage. Any relationship, the foundation is communication. And it seems to be, in my experience working with couples, that it's the most difficult thing for couples to conquer, or for couples to really strengthen and get right in their marriage. And I think part of that is, you got the 7 stages of marriage, and you got that first stage, which I love to call the better than chocolate stage. That's the stage where we are just like in infatuation with each other. The other person can do no wrong. Everything they do is right. Even their snoring has a nice little beautiful scent to it.
That's when you're blind.
There you go. You have found ways to ignore, put those blinders on to the things that, 5 to 10 years from now might really frustrate you, but in that moment, in that first year, it's a beautiful thing to you.
Right.
And so I know a lot of couples are struggling with that communication, because in that stage, what are we communicating about? I love everything about you. There ain't nothing that you do that makes me upset. There's nothing that you do that, doesn't work out for me. We make this thing work because you're just amazing, right? But fast forward 3, 4, 8 years, 10 years, 15 years. You guys are at 25 years of marriage, which is beautiful. How do you keep that communication positive and going? And do you have any particular strategies that you use? I know, for example, I met this couple some years ago before I even started doing marriage counseling. And the couple had been married, I think at that time, like 20, 25 years as well. And the wife had started this system where she used a teddy bear. And if I got the story right, she would take the teddy bear, she put the teddy bear on the bed, And when the husband came in and he saw the teddy bear on the bed, then that meant that they were supposed to talk about something. There was something that needed to be addressed. And so he already knew to kind of start thinking, because he took a little longer to process than she did. and so anyway, that was their little strategy. Do you have any, and it may not even be anything that you can describe like a process necessarily, but what have you used in your marriage that works to keep the lines of communication open between the two of you?
Well, at first we didn't have a strategy. We just both start talking.
Okay.
But then nobody's listening because we're both talking. We figured it out that in order to communicate, we communicate two different ways. Mm-hmm. And that's the first key to recognizing something's wrong, but right.
Okay.
I communicate totally different. I'm a hand mover. I'm a, hand on my hip. My neck might be rolling, but it's not because I'm angry. It's just I talk with a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
His communication skills is totally different. Say what he says he's done. We've learned that in order to communicate properly, you have to listen to the first person mm-hmm. and then wait for a response. Mm-hmm. And if we don't communicate, then we can't solve anything because we don't know nothing's wrong if we don't communicate that. So for instance, if Calvin doesn't like you to play slap him.
Play slap him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Pretend you're going to slap, play slap him.
Okay.
That's just always been a pet peeve of his.
Okay. Is that your thing?
I used to like to do that.
Okay.
But if
I don't like hands in my face.
But if if he never communicated that with me, I don't know. So when I do it, or if I've done it in the past, his reaction was totally different because I'm thinking he would laugh this thing off. And he's like, I can't believe you just did that. Da, da. So if you don't communicate what your likes or dislikes are to anybody, let alone your spouses, you're never going to know. But to communicate, we just agree to, okay, if there's something to talk about, I'll listen. And then if I don't have an answer right then, he will come back with it.
Okay.
Yeah, now I look at it more as a term of endearment, affection,
The play slap.
Hand and face period. She rubbed my beard and that type of thing. But that's how it was in the beginning.
Okay. So you didn't even like it as like a gentle stroke to the face?
He didn't have a beard then. He didn't have a beard then. I just would do like, I'm just playing with you, and he didn't like that. But he didn't tell me for a long time that it bothered him. So I thought it was cool to keep doing it.
Right.
So until he
until
he communicated that with me, I didn't know.
And even sometimes when you communicate stuff to people, they may get upset. You know what I mean? Then sometimes in communication, sometimes you have to step back, take a couple of steps back.
Yeah.
Let things cool out, depending on what you're talking about.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Sometimes when the moment is heated, you're just gonna add to the fire.
Right.
You trying to get your point across.
Yeah.
She's trying to get her point across. You're not listening to me. You not understand what I'm saying,
mm-hmm.
and I can say the same thing about you. So sometimes it's better pull out and come back and discuss it later.
Right. I do think we just communicate. We have different styles of communicating, but we're communicating, and I think that's the key. Yeah. And sometimes Calvin and I are saying the exact same thing, but I'm saying it with probably 500 words to his 3, and it doesn't sound the same. But when we're done, it's like, all right, babe, you were right. That's exactly right. But it just sounds like it's not right because he didn't put a lot of conversation into it. But it'll be the exact same thing.
Well, so we just that hand on that hip that you might have did.
Plus, I was good at tuning out. You know what I mean? When you worked around a lot of noise for a long period of time, you can tune. I guess it's a skill you acquire, but you can tune stuff out. You know what I mean? So there could be a whole lot of noise in the room, and I could basically not hear nothing.
Can I ask you a question? Is tuning out the same as ignoring, or is that different?
It can be.
Okay.
Especially if you're not trying to hear what she's saying.
Okay.
Let's keep it real. So you can call it being ignored, or you can call it tuning out.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So here's another question for you. So because you spoke a little bit about if it's already a heated conversation, sometimes you don't want to keep going because it can just blow up and just add more fuel to the fire. So like for example, Maurice is he's the type of person that likes to sit and process things before we talk about it. I am the total opposite of that, and when it's happening, I'm like, okay, let's go ahead and address this and get it over with. And the reason I'm that way is because I don't like to be angry. So if there's something going on and I feel like either I'm upset or you upset, I want to get it over with so we can move on and get back to a happy place. He's total opposite.
Most women are.
And that's what I've discovered, that a lot of us are this way. So one thing we have done in our marriage is I had to learn in the elder that married us in our church actually provided our premarital counseling and continues to see us when we're having issues. We will go see him. Him and his wife, actually. But one of the things he said to me, he said, Patrice, you have to realize this. If you already know what it is you want to say, and you already got it in your head, it's not going to hurt you to hold that for another 30 minutes because you already know what it is you need to get out. But if you start that conversation and Maurice has not decided what it is how it is he wants to respond to you, all you're going to do is become even more upset waiting on his response. So give him that 30 minutes. Allow him the time to think about what he wants to say, how he wants to say it. Because he used to say to me that he's like, no, I already know what I'm going to say to you, but I got to make sure that the way I say it is going to be a way you're going to receive it, because I know you have to have things in a certain way in order for you to receive it.
Right.
So I had to learn to take that 30 minutes, take that step back, and say, okay, babe, I really want to talk to you about our finances. Can we talk about it at 7 o'clock tonight? And it might have been 5 o'clock during the day.
Mm-hmm.
To almost like plan the conversation to occur in order for him to be okay with that. Right. And so we've mastered that now, and I think we're in a much better place than when I used to just pop off at the mouth like anything make me mad. We're going to talk about this now. Right. But I'm at work, but I don't care. Go to the break room. We're going to talk about this. I'm so glad that I have gotten past that. Lord bless my heart that he's had to deal with me for all these years. But let me ask you another question. So we kind of talked about communication. I want to talk about, I'm sure that after 25 years of marriage that you have developed some areas of expertise in, or some areas that you all kind of feel like you're pros at. You know when this particular challenge comes your way, you can handle it because it's something maybe you've seen before, maybe something you've dealt with 10 other times in your marriage. Is there any area that you feel like we pros at this? When this come up, we got this.
Oh, no.
Well, you never could be too of a pro.
Okay.
At anything, because there's always a learning process and room for growth. But I would say mostly for us, sickness, health issues.
Okay.
And when I say we're pros at that is because I've had over 19 operations.
Wow, okay.
And we've been there before.
Yeah.
That when the doctor tells us something, again, we don't fret, we don't panic, we don't go into crazy mode of, oh my God, because we've been there so many times before, and God has actually always brought us out or brought me out without, any missing organs or we've been through death, we buried a daughter. So it's kind of like I don't want to really call it a pro, but we have such great experience with the loss of a child that we've been able to now pour back into people that are losing loved ones without me. I have sympathy, but now when folks have lost their loved ones, I'm on the scene. I'm almost like that news reporter, but not reporting news, but I'm there. I'm that comfort. I provided for them because I've been there, done that. So it's kind of like, hey, I've been here. I can help you plan that funeral and take the weight off of families that go through that. So when it comes to like health things, that's the more serious side of crisis. Yeah. And then on the travel side, like we have mastered, traveling. Yeah.
Vacation.
She has mastered travel.
Yeah.
And you've mastered going.
I just tell me when to go and what's the dates.
So we're kind of pros at that, and I didn't really realize how much of a pro that people thought I was, because I thought it was just something I like to do.
Yeah.
But when we renewed our wedding vows, it's kind of like, hey, we love the Johnsons, and Deborah can get you from here to here, and she's a good travel person. So it's like, wow, you guys think that? Because I didn't think that until I heard everybody's label me as you're the pro expert. So
she would have people call our friends from Connecticut. I want to go to such and such and such and such. And she used to, what she had learned to do was, listen, call me when you have the money to book. Because when you find a lot of these good deals, you got to book them on the site.
Right.
Versus, she used to go through all this to try to find good deals. Then you call, I found such and such. Oh, I don't have the money now.
They got the money to do it.
She'd be like, well, from now on, just call me when you have the money and ready to book.
Yeah. And so I think it's amazing, one, that you spoke to the health issues, because that's probably something that others would consider a huge challenge. Yeah. In terms of your challenges, could you identify at 25 years later that you still have some challenges in your marriage?
We do.
Yeah,
we do.
I'm breaking down now. They try to turn around some egg.
Well, we have health challenges, of course. With myself having lupus, and then there's always financial challenges. I don't think I haven't met a couple yet who even if they say they're living comfortably, I've heard them say, but they're not financially where they want to be. That's a major challenge for us because we are two separate people when it comes to finances. Mm-hmm. It works because if two of us was spenders, we'd be in trouble. If two of us was, I don't want to really say Jews, but if two of us was frugal, we'd be in trouble. So it kind of balances itself out. I'm the pay the bill, the minimum, and he's the pay the off the balance.
Ooh, y'all sound like us.
And so that's where we are with finances. I believe in living life now because of my health reasons, which I understand financially you should be in place. But then there's times where it doesn't seem so good for me health wise, and I'm just like, hey, I might not be here tomorrow, so I don't want to wait until my birthday to get that filet mignon. So he might be saying, well, we could wait till this date. So those are some of the challenges that we go through, but we always kind of meet in the middle of what makes sense. Do we have it? Can we afford it? Can we afford to miss that $25 extra dollars or whatever? So.
Because you can still be.
I'm sorry, real quick. I've got a quick question I need to ask you all. So, one of the things I often hear, people that are not married. Oh gosh, I could never imagine having sex with the same person for the rest of my life. Gosh, who wants to do that? Da da da. And I'm sure you all have too. All the comments in regards to once you're married, your sex life is boring. In essence, my sex life is going strong. Praise God, hallelujah. We got lots of challenges. That happens to not be one of them. But I'm curious, you all, 25 years later, how do you keep your bedroom spicy? How do you keep it exciting? What advice can you give to couples to do to not find themselves in a situation where they're bored or they're considering other options, basically?
Well, you have to keep the fire lit. Is there ever a time that boredom won't take place? It's gonna take place because of different challenges, health wise. There are times where you might want to be this crazy, but health won't allow that. So it's never gonna always be 100% beds and roses because you might want to do different things. But I do think that romance is a key part of keeping your sex life tight. Because if there's no romance and it's just sex, then that's all it is. It's just sex. It becomes a chore. It becomes a habit. It becomes it's my job. So at 10 o'clock tomorrow night, this is where we're going to meet to do this. And if you don't add anything to it, and of course, we can go on and on about the pros and cons of what we've heard as kids in Christianity of what's accepted and not accepted. But whatever goes on in your bedroom to keep your marriage hot and steamy, that should be where it's at between that husband and that wife. So
it can be something as simple as even earlier in our marriages, we used to every now and then we used to take our kids to my mom's house. And we used to go get a hotel room. Sometimes it's in the same city. Sometimes it's outside of the city, but it's just a change of environment, scenery. Yeah. We go out or we order in. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. Or we took our mattress one day off our bed, like a queen mattress, and we pulled it out of the bedroom and put it into the living room, and we just pretend we left like the city. We ordered Chinese food.
I love that.
We turned the phones off. We didn't answer the doorbell, so if anybody came over, they would have thought we left town, but we were actually right in the apartment. It was pretty cool. Right, it was earlier on. Or put in those beautiful. We used to do that.
A lot
change
of people
the scene.
Will say they can't afford to go get a hotel room or go travel and change the scene.
You change your atmosphere into being what you want it to be. That's what we
awesome.
do. Yeah.
That's awesome. So you said, Miss Deborah, you said trying new things. You said sometimes you want to try new things and your health may not allow you to try new things. I have worked with couples, and I am not a sex expert. I don't claim to be a sexologist, none of that. I do marriage, and I know sex is inclusive of that. And so, we have conversations about it, but I'm not the pro necessarily on sex itself. So, and I've had wives, particularly, that'll say to me, I want to try something new, but and it's weird even hearing people say it, because these are people that's been married 10, 15 years. I want to try something new, but I'm scared. I'm embarrassed. I think if I've never worn lingerie for my husband and I come out in lingerie, then all of a sudden it's like, then I really got to perform, or they feel like that they really got to, so have you ever heard any couple say that, or have you ever experienced it? How do you overcome we've been doing it this way all this time, and I want to add something new, I want to add some spice, but I'm scared to try something new?
As long as there's agreement between the husband and the wife. You can't force nothing upon nobody. Mm-hmm. You probably try to persuade them.
Well, that's new for what you're talking about.
I'm just in general.
We're talking about, that's true, but I think,
if you want to tie her up, you can't. If
I think that right, and I think that it's a
persuasion. Okay,
it goes back to communicating. Because there are times where I ask Cal, like, "Hey, what do you feel about this?" Mm-hmm. If he says, "Babe, I'm not gonna do that," or "I'm not into," so then next, you figure out something else. And it never ever hurts to Google to find more things to do for married couples, more intimacy, more romance, more sexual strategies. What can I do? A lot of people always are looking at it as it's the intercourse part of it, but it really isn't. If you try something new with just even the conversation piece prior to engaging, then you don't have to even make up all these other things, because the conversation that you just had with me just took that away.
Foreplay.
So I mean, that's just me. I'm at my prime. I'm 46, and I hit my prime at 40. Mm-hmm. I thought I would go backwards, but I didn't. So
so is that where the shift happened?
Yeah, that was my peak.
All right now.
I call it the peak process, but yeah, I turned 40 and it was like I went, as they say, go bananas. And I don't know if it's part of it because, I've been premenopausal for a while, and then I went through forced menopause, but I thought it would keep me from but it's not. It just did the opposite for me. So I hear people say,
so Calvin, that's a good thing for you.
Yeah. I mean, and, along with that, even like you were saying about challenges and stuff, like my wife, when we was trying to have kids, we discovered my wife had an incompetent cervix. Mm. That's when the fetus grows and it causes you to dilate, contract.
Okay.
So my wife had to be she had to be stitched. They had to stitch her cervix. So that was challenging in itself.
Yeah,
because we went 9 months. With
I was gonna say no sex during that time, right?
Right. So
wow. And so, what kind of things did you do?
We improvised, we overcome, and we adapted.
All right. Improvise, overcome, and
I even ordered the Code Red.
What's the Code Red?
That's just so
we can't
from A Few Good Men.
Okay.
Code Red is personal.
Code Red is fill in the blank.
Okay, I got you. But I mean, inevitably, somebody's listening, and that's their story. They've had to restrain from sex for whatever reason, or there was. Maybe they didn't have to restrain, but they were sexual health issues where, whatever. And so you got to get creative, and you're right. I think I loved what you said, though, Ms. Deborah. You spoke to intimacy and sex being more than physical, and you talked about just the communication of it can take you to another place. I know there's been times where I travel a lot with my job and the things that I do with couples, and there's been times where Marisa and I have been in totally different states, and we had to figure things out.
Right.
And a lot can happen with words.
You say on the phone,
I was pleasantly surprised by how much could happen with words.
Back in the day, what? Shoot.
So that's the key is I think for couples to figure out, one, that sex is more than physical.
Right.
And then what does your relationship look like that's more than physical, that still involves that intimacy?
Right.
And if you can't identify anything, then it's a time to figure those things out and start putting them into your marriage. And, you know, and realizing that it's so much more than just what we do once we're actually in the bed or engaged.
And a lot of it, you hear this a lot too. It's in the mind. A lot of it is in the mind. Because if you're not with one another, ain't too much gonna happen.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
For most, you hear a lot of therapists say that.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. So, and I know we're drawing in on our last few minutes. So I just have one. Well, maybe I have more
Just
than
one
one.
more
Depends
thing.
on if I can get it out. But I have one question that I do want to ask you. And so here's my question. After 25 years of this thing we call marriage, if your marriage was a book, what would the title of your marriage be? Or the title of your book be?
Love Without Walls.
Love Without Walls.
Yes.
Calvin, was you ready for that answer?
No.
Okay, I like Deborah looked like she sprung that out on us. What does that mean?
For us, it means when you get married, you build a lot of walls. You build them based on insecurities. You build them on fear because you're not sure what you're getting into. Even though you get married and you know the things of marriage, it's like, oh, we're one, we're going to build this foundation. When I got married with a lot of walls. I got married with hurt. I got married with fears, insecurities. I got married with a lot of things that I didn't disclose of what really ailed me.
Gotcha.
And later on in the marriage is when I decided I'm going to let him really know what's going on behind these walls, because the only person that really knows what's going on behind your wall is you and God. Yeah. And so once I unveiled that wall and let him understand my insecurities, it let me know by him telling me that, hey, we can get through that together. We could get past that together. I thought if I let him know, and it wasn't like secrets or anything, it was just some inner hurt for me that I just kept walls up because of past hurt or just hurt in general or physical things or family things. And once he told me we could get through that together, I let the walls down and I let him see me totally naked, so to speak, and not physically naked, but he saw the raw me, the me that's broken, the me that's hurt, and I now love him and he loves me without any walls being around. So that's
beautiful. Do you have anything you want to add?
And it's an open book, because a lot of times, a lot of older couples, a lot of stuff they don't disclose or let out. You know what I mean? It's a lot of things that take place in a marriage that a lot of older couples don't really tell you about. You know what I mean? Like with our daughters, we have to let them know. Like I talk to my daughter from the standpoint of how a dude's gonna come at her.
Yeah.
She talked to her from the standpoint of a woman. I'm telling you, they're gonna tell you whatever they want to tell you to get them draws. Yeah. And that's just what I tell her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're gonna tell you this, they're gonna tell you that. You know what I'm saying? I said, so be mindful of that. You know, you can't be giggle at every little thing somebody say to you. You know? But our marriages are, I mean, my wife talked to a lot of women about the pregnancy issues and stuff like that. She's, and you know, high
That's
risk.
What you mean
my
by
wife
open book. You
open
share.
book share is high risk. You know, high risk, and you know.
Yeah.
Then I talk to a lot of guys about, listen, man, if you're not helping or providing for your house or your income, anything becomes an argument, a big argument. Toothpaste off the top off the toothpaste become a great argument. When bills are not getting paid, you know, it's been a point in time where my wife had got laid off. I told her pay the rent, grocery and lights. Everybody else can wait.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So you know, being able to communicate, especially with a lot of these young guys, you know, you have to open up to a lot of people.
Yeah. That's good, and that's the only way we learn from each other is by opening ourselves up and being that open book. So I love that.
You didn't hear a lot of that from some, you know, you hear a lot of people say that they didn't hear that from their parents, or if they go say something to them, it's like, well, yeah, we kind of went through that, but you know, everything's a secret.
Oh, yeah.
And at the end of the day, we realize that, and this is our slogan for our marriage, is that we don't have a perfect marriage, but we serve a perfect God that is well able to keep our marriage.
Amen. All right. So thank you so much for coming in today with us. Thank you so much for sharing with our listeners. Join us next week as we continue our discussion on all matters of marriage. Thank you for tuning in tonight, and you all have an amazing night. We'll see you next week.